So I just want to introduce you to the world,
Sure.
right? So I'm here this morning with Marissa Gerasi.
Yes,
I hope I said that right.
that is.
Okay, good. And you're a teacher, right?
I am actually a speech language pathologist, but
Excellent.
my kids call me the speech teacher, so that's could go hand in hand, I guess.
No, well, forgive me. That's a distinction. I mean, a speech language pathologist of course, you're teaching people, but you're teaching them in a very specific way.
Yes. Focusing more on the communication aspects, expressive language, receptive language, those types of things.
Wow, I bet that must be interesting. Okay, we're gonna dig into that a little more. So how long have you been doing that type of work?
I am going into my 5th year. Actually, I'm going into my 6th year
Okay.
in August. Yes.
So I just want to create for you, I know I share with you, but again, for everybody too, is, my partner Nathan and I, we created this because we want to acknowledge you. We want you to know that there are people out there that get how important what you're doing is, and that without you, we wouldn't have the world and the freedom in this country that we all count on and that we all appreciate so much. So that's why we're talking to you this morning.
Well, thank you.
So, okay, so almost 6 years.
Yep.
Was there anything, like, is this something you've always wanted to do? Is this something you just landed into? Like, how did you end up in this work?
Sure. So when I was younger, I worked with a speech pathologist myself when I was in school, but I never really thought much of it. It never came across my mind as like, this is the career for me. And when I was in college, I was originally, my dream was to go into nursing. And, I know that nursing is such a passionate career, and the students that were sitting next to me were like all in, and I just didn't feel like that passion for it that I thought I would. And after speaking with my mom, who at the time was working with a speech pathologist, she says, "Well, why don't you give this a whirl? Why don't you try this out?" I was like, "All right, I'll take a 101 class." So that's what I did. I did communication 101. And I took, a couple more classes after that just to make sure. And after that, I was like, done. This is my calling. This is what I want to do. There are so many avenues I can take with it. I mean, and there was no stopping me.
Wow, that's so interesting, right? So something about you, like a nurse is also somebody who's highly in service to people.
Mm-hmm.
So there was something about you always wanted to work with people, I guess, is what I'm hearing.
Yes. Yeah, I always felt that, my dad is a nurse, my mom is a teacher. I just felt like I needed to do something where I was working with people and for people. And being a speech pathologist is kind of the best of both worlds. I can work in a school, I can work in a hospital, a nursing home. I can be more educational, or I can be more clinical. I kind of found a way to meld the best of both worlds.
That's really neat. So
Yeah.
Speaking of which, so where have you ended up? Like, what's your focus? What kind of populations do you work with? What kind of things, like, what do you love to work with the most?
Right. So I currently work with the high school population primarily. And I work with ESE students. The majority of my students are low functioning autism,
Okay.
or
You know
low
what
functioning
ESC stands for?
exceptional education,
Oh, okay.
or exceptional student education.
Got
Yes.
it.
And so I work with students with low functioning autism, and also intellectual disabilities. And
Wow.
then I also have a few students that I see part-time, who are not at my school. They're elementary age, and same autism, specific learning disabilities, intellectual disabilities.
Now, I mean, from what I know, that can be some challenging work to take on. Was there something specific about that population that really attracted you, or is that just kind of where you ended up?
Yeah, I love kind of the challenge of getting these students to express what's kind of like trapped inside them. You know, um, there's so much inside a person that a lot of times we don't get to see or hear. And when you add a disability on top of that, it's like trapped in there. The
Hmm.
potential for them to get it out is diminished. So I just love the challenge of being able to come up with ways for them to express themselves. And whether it's through using like augmentative communication, a lot of them use iPads or devices to communicate their needs, or a picture symbol system, coming up with those things. And when they finally touch that picture or communicate using the buttons on the iPad, it's just so rewarding and so exciting, not only for me but for the people that are around them all the time. So it's someone who hasn't had a voice, and now all of a sudden they can tell you what they want and what they need.
Wow. I mean, I don't have autism or any scale at all. And sometimes I have a hard time really being clear, expressing myself with what I want or how I'm feeling. So that is, I mean, I just love what you're saying. So actually helping these people to find their voice and to express what they're dealing with or what they care about, or even just their feelings in that moment, right?
Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of little obstacles that I think we go through life trying to get around. And for my students, a lot of times it's themselves. It's their behaviors, it's their inability to create words, their sensitivities to light or any sound that's in the area. It can, have adverse reactions to their ability to communicate what they need, and just finding ways around those obstacles for them. It's cool. It's very cool.
So that kind of leads, so I'm curious now, what do you find? I mean, I hear how creative you get with them and how you make a game and you kind of have fun with it. Are what would you say is the most challenging part of your work for you?
Gosh, the most challenging part of my job. I love my students. Every day is different. So I guess it's a challenge, but it's also the part that I love at the same time. Walking into a room and maybe not exactly knowing how their morning was, and them not being able to tell me how their morning was. So I don't necessarily know what to expect. We don't always get the exact notes from mom and dad, had a difficult time sleeping, or didn't like his breakfast today. And any little thing leading up to their day at school can kind of throw them a little bit. So just not knowing what you're walking into, but then after you see it, you just roll with it, you run with it. So it's like it's a con, but it's kind of the exciting part about it too.
So it's really the challenging part is that it's just unpredictable, right? Like you just
Yeah.
don't know what you're going to be dealing with any day in or day out. And it's,
Right. You can plan, because I work in a school, I have my lesson plans. Sometimes those lesson plans just do not work out, out the door.
but but like you said, what's neat about it is it's a challenge, but it's also one of the parts that keeps it lively, it sounds like, and keeps you into
It
the
keeps it exciting.
yeah.
Yeah.
So going from that, then so I got there's some excitement there. Is there any part that particularly really stands out to you that you just love about your work, like the most rewarding part for you? Like why do you keep doing what you're doing?
Why do I keep doing what I'm
Yeah.
doing? The idea that these students have gone so long in their lives. I mean, I'm working with majority 9th through 12th graders, but my students also they stay in school, most of them, until they're 22. So some of them are 21, 22 years old and really have had no system to communicate for a good majority of their life. And just the ability to give them that, to give that to their family or their caretakers, a way to kind of get inside their head see what they're thinking, see what they're feeling. It alleviates so many of the behaviors that they exhibit, because they're no longer frustrated. Imagine going through life and wanting to talk about, the beautiful world that we live in and not being able to. How frustrating that would be. I would have behaviors too, crying or getting upset or, running away from something if I didn't like it, because I wouldn't be able to tell you that I didn't like it. So the ability to create that opportunity for not only the student, but for their loved ones is just so gratifying for me.
I have like chills, Marissa. Like that's beautiful to me. Like again, like just using myself as an example, when I was 21, 22, I couldn't express a lot of things without getting angry or frustrated. And
Right.
and you're helping people that are already, have a challenge in that, but to really find that voice and to finally, I mean, I can even think about that. So a lot of them actually stay in school till 21, 22. I didn't realize that. Like,
Yes, with our school district, and I work for the school district of Palm Beach County, the students can stay in until they're 22. And
wow.
because my students have so many needs, and they access their curriculum so much differently, they still have to gain a lot of even independent skills. We utilize that time once they're done with their curriculum per se, which is 9th through 12th grade. Then we start adding in job skills, daily living skills, things that will really help them increase their independence throughout life. Many of them will end up staying with their parents or with their caretakers. Maybe some will go into a group home, but our goal is that they would be independent, productive members of society. Some are able to hold down little jobs. Sorry, my son is with me. Hi.
Okay.
This is not important, Mom.
Okay.
But it's really cool. I earn a new vehicle, but now I'm gonna fix the airplane.
High five.
And I didn't even earn it.
Very cool.
That's your little Joey, right?
That is my Joey. Yes.
Yes. No,
everything is very exciting to him.
Why? How could it not be?
Right.
With a mom like you, I mean, look, I'm really, I like so. I love what you're sharing. That like I bet you I'm not the only one. I bet you a lot of people don't realize that you continue to do that work with these kids and really not only have them complete a curriculum, but actually give them tools to function and be in the world. It's like, I had no idea. That's so great.
Yeah, it's a cool opportunity, and seeing them become independent, no matter how, I always tell the parents and the caretakers that I work with is any achievement is a big achievement for these kids, no matter how small. It's a step in the right direction. And you just continue to try to build upon it, so it's cool.
So like I said, to kind of wrap this up, so we created this really to honor you because of the work you do that creates independence for the rest of us in this country, the freedom, right? Mm-hmm. And so I guess in the spirit of Independence Day, like what is liberty to you?
Gosh, specifically for me, I mean, it's the ability to have a voice, to share your voice, to, communicate not only what you need, what you want. And, it kind of just goes back to just the ability to do so. And with like my career, my kids, don't have that, and I'm able to give them that voice. So, liberty is just the freedom to express yourself.
Wow. That's, yeah, it really, right? Like, I really love where you're focused, like, because that's really what you're empowering is these kids to have a voice and right. That they get to share what matters to them.
Right. And there's no right way to do it. Use your vocal cords, use your hands for sign language, use pictures, however you want to do it, just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Marissa, it encourages me to know that there's people like you doing what you're doing, because I mean, no, I mean, like I said, I just learned a whole bunch of new things about the system that's out there to support kids that deal with those challenges. And, you know, it's just thank you.
Well, I love what I do. For me, it's like a no-brainer, you know, and it's totally worth it. Totally worth it.
Well, I really thank you for your time this morning. And, you know, your son and those kids you work with are just really lucky to have you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, I
And
hope
thank
you
you
have.
for doing this. This was wonderful.
All right. Well, I had a lot of fun. So we'll share the video with you. And
Great. Awesome.
can't wait to. I guess we'll look forward to seeing each other soon.
Sounds like a plan.
Thanks, Marissa. Have a
Bye.
good day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.